Well, we've got a rare opportunity at Griffin today because we have two major guys from the C.F. Martin Guitar Company. On my far right is Dick Boak, who lives in Nazareth and has been there at the factory virtually every day. I guess he takes Sundays off occasionally.
Since I pulled into Nazareth.
Yeah, right. About 1/2 whatever it was.
Whatever.
And so he's been there since the 70s. And on my immediate right is Dan Gulino, who's been with Martin for over 30 years. He's been our rep, Griffin's rep, at least 2 or 3 different times. He's our rep currently, and we couldn't be happier. And Dan's holding a custom shop Dreadnought that is a great example of what Martin's custom shop, is able to do. This is a group of guys that work with customers to produce unique guitars. And this is one that our own Matt Lynch cooked up when he was back there at the factory. And it's a Dreadnought, kind of in style 21. It's sort of like if you were to crank up your Wayback Machine and go back to the period in the very early 30s before Martin was using celluloid bindings. And if you were to do a Dreadnought in style 21, of course at that point Martin wasn't doing Dreadnoughts in style 21, but this is sort of as if you could go back to 1931 and do a 14 fret Dreadnought model. This is pretty much what it would be like. So it has the style 21 herringbone around the sound hole, and it has the wood binding on the body instead of the celluloid.
And that's rosewood binding.
It looks like it, yep.
And it's a great sounding guitar. It also has the earlier style bridge, the what we commonly call the pyramid bridge, which was replaced by the kind of bridge that you see on this guitar, starting in 1931.
Which we call the belly bridge.
The belly bridge, right? So it's a modern day hybrid of old features from earlier guitars and then very, very modern features.
The neck is the profile is modern.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things that we've been doing quite a lot, and Martin has done it on standard models as well, is combining the structural features and the look of the guitars from the 30s and 40s, but using a very modern neck profile, so that for today's player who often switches between electric guitar and acoustic guitar or whatever, it just feels like the guitar that you've been playing either by other brands or more modern Martin guitars, and you don't have to struggle to get around that huge neck. And of course a lot of those big necks were because Martin didn't have an adjustable truss rod in the neck in those days, and now they do. So there isn't the same reason to have that really meaty mahogany neck that you have to climb around.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about this guitar when Matt went back from Griffin was that he really pinpointed a lot of great vintage appointments, but he kept in mind keeping it a very playable guitar for today's players. So if someone's really playing acoustic and electric, they can put this in their hand and feel real comfortable with the way the neck feels on this guitar. This also has a VTS top on it.
Right. Boy, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'd forgotten about it.
Yeah.
So the vintage VTS stands for Vintage Tone System, and that's Martin's term for a torrified top. And torrification is a way of heating the top to very high temperatures, but in an atmosphere without any oxygen, so it can't catch fire, and it dries the wood the way a long period of time would out in the real world, and it changes its internal structure. It makes the top more stable as well as making it sound different. The tops don't tend to go up and down as much as you go through different climates. If you're out by the beach or you're someplace where it's dry or someplace where it's humid, they don't react as dramatically as a regular guitar top does. And they just produce a tremendous tone. So,
well, I want to say that the Style 21 guitars were the favorite of C.F. Martin III, Chris Martin's grandfather.
Right.
And the reason he believed in the austerity of the design, simplicity with great tone. He wanted to provide the best sounding guitars at a reasonable price, and that's why the Style 21 was so important to him. And he preferred it over the fancier,
Sure.
more expensive guitars.
Yeah, in fact, the first Martin D21 models were under his leadership in the mid-50s, and that was one of the few new models that Martin introduced in the 1950s, was the D21.
And it's all about tone, and this guitar sounds like a cannon.
This is a monster drum. Did we mention the back sides was Madagascar on this?
No, we didn't.
That's beautiful.
We keep forgetting all kinds of things here.
Great. Madagascar rosewood, again, is akin to Brazilian rosewood in its weight and strength-to-weight ratio and tonal properties. It's very close.
This is a great guitar. As usual, Griffin just does an incredible job at putting together guitars for their customer base, what's attractive, what appeals, and tonally speaks the Martin sound.